Matov Chelkeinu, Manoim Goyda Haleinu, Ashreinu 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 Matov Chelkeinu, Manoim Goyda Haleinu, such harmony. So good to be back. Thank you, Tobi and Chaya. L'chaim. Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy. I have two first cousins at the table.
Wow.
Yeah, no, they're two brothers. They're my first cousins. He's visiting from Los Angeles. He's visiting from Teaneck. I'm in Rabbi Chemish. It's a kef. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. All right, so it's a special night. Let's do everything we're learning right now. Leilu Nishmas Gram and Zaidi. Everything we're learning in their memory. Please God, everything we're doing. He's the oldest grandson, so he really. It's a big schus. It's a big schus to learn tonight in honor of memory of our grandparents. Chaya Rachel, Bas Tzvi Hirsch, and Nachum Yisrael.
Chaim Yisrael.
And Chaim Yitzchak ben Nachum Yisrael. All right, so we have a lot to cover tonight. So I don't know, whatever, we have to just say Hashem, we're going to try, but people definitely have to go to sleep at a certain time. So we're not going to, whatever happens, happens. That's basically the thing. It's very weird that I look forward to Aseret B'Teves every year. It's not a normal thing that you should look forward to the 10th day of Teves, because that's a day that we know was established as Yom HaKadish HaKlali, this day of general Kaddish. We're fasting. And it happens also to be, though, that it's the yahrtzeit, and today's, I think, 174 years, the yahrtzeit of Reb Nosson of Breslov, Rabbi Natan. And out of everyone, I was asking myself today, what is it that I'm so excited to talk about him a little bit, and to mention his yahrtzeit. Reb Nosson, Rabbi Natan is, what can we say about him that we haven't said already? We've said so much. We've been to his gravesite in Ukraine a few times already. People that are in this room already a number of times. What is it about Reb Nosson of Breslov? There's something about it. And certain words they start popping out when I think about, if I say, okay, what pops up when you think about the name Rabbi Natan of Breslov? Reb Nosson Sternhartz. His last name was Sternhartz. What pops up? So I have a few thoughts. Does anyone want to say something that pops up for them? And you say, yeah?
Mesirat Nefesh.
You stole mine. I promise you.
I don't know if it can be a term for a person, for like Rav Natan to Rav Nachman, or it's just a person to Hashem.
What do you mean?
To me, it was Mesirat Nefesh to Rav Nachman.
Oh, to me, it's funny. I think that he had Mesirat Nefesh for me. Okay, we'll get to that. But you see what I'm saying? It's a little bit different. All right, so Reb Nosson, what else pops up? We say Reb Nosson's name. Devotion, Anava. Tefillah. Oh yeah. Reb Nosson's Tefillah. Because did you go to Breslov also when you were there?
Sure. Yeah.
So, Rabbi Natan, when I said before that I would have said Mesiras Nefesh, is because something about this person, he completely devoted his life to make sure that the world would know that the doctor is in the house. Pashut me'od. Very, very simple. He dedicated his whole life. And do you know that Reb Nosson met Reb Nachman? Do you know he's one of the last students, the later students? Reb Nosson and Reb Nachman met in 1802.
He wasn't a chassid.
What's that?
He wasn't a chassid.
He didn't even grow up chassidish.
Right.
And his whole life he had a very difficult time from his father and his father-in-law regarding this inyan of chassidus bichlal. Because Reb Nosson grew up in the house of scholars, and he was a child prodigy at a very young age. But not just a child prodigy that was very smart and very academically advanced. There were some features in Reb Nosson that people saw at a very young age that said, this kid, he's going to be mamash a shem beYisrael. Mamash a shem, a name in Am Yisrael. We have certain figures, Rashi, Ramban. Reb Nosson was going to be one of these big names. And he became a big name, but not the way that, they thought it was going to be. But we can learn a lot about Reb Nosson's life by certain things that he said. And it'll help us understand also the character and also this Mesiras Nefesh and Anava and Tefillah like Reb Nosson had. I heard a Chaim Kramer once say that you can't receive directly from the sun. You have to have the light of the moon, right? So Reb Nosson is he enabled any of us to be able to receive some connection from the sun, which is Rabbi Nachman.
I don't think anyone would have understood Rabbi Nachman without him.
even if we speculated that they might have, it's Reb Nachman himself that said what I just said before. Meaning, it was Rabbi Nachman that said that if it wasn't for my Nassano, none of you would have any idea who I am. Now, interestingly enough, Jack, though, Reb Nosson was not the greatest scholar student of Reb Nachman. It's very interesting. There were a few others that were there for longer and that were older, and that actually, on a scholarly level, may have been even more advanced than Reb Nosson. But what was it about Reb Nosson? What made him who he was? So there's a few things I want to see, but one of them is something I just found on Shabbos. I didn't... Amen. Let's see if I have it. I just want to read to you something. It's not a handout, but this will explain to us something about Reb Nosson. It'll explain to us what he thought about himself. This is very important. So there was a mashal that Reb Nosson used to say like this. He says, what am I like? To like a person who made an announcement in the world. And the announcement was, any one of you that has an affliction and is known as being ill or sick, come to me and I will heal him. So Reb Nosson says, his karuz was, his banner was. And everyone, the whole world ran after him. And Reb Nosson would come up to each person and say, Ma koev lecha? What hurts you? So someone would say, oh, my head. So he would say, trust me, my head hurts much more than yours does. And then someone would say, what hurts you? He said, my lungs. He's like, take my word, my lungs are in much worse shape than yours. And every time someone would be asked about what they're suffering from, Rabbi Nosson would say that whatever they'd say, trust me, I'm going through much more pain with that exact thing than you are too. So people started looking at him like, then why on earth did you call us to come to you? And you said you're going to heal us. He said, I sent out that banner to the world, that cruz, that announcement to the world, because I know of the greatest doctor in the world who can heal me where I am in my utmost pain and confusion in this world. All the more so if he can heal me, who's suffering much more than you, he can heal you too. Because your ke'ev, your pain, and your machla, your illness, is smaller than my illness. And what do we learn from this? That the whole point of Rabbi Natan's life was to reveal to the world who is the real doctor. And he felt that the only reason that he even found out who Rabbi Nachman was only to let others know. Not because he thought that he was the greatest from everyone, but only meaning that it's not because he felt, look at me, I'm really on such a level to carry on this legacy and make it such a big thing in the world. Ma piton. Reb Nosson felt about himself, my inyan, my thing in this world, is to let the whole world know about the doctor. So that says to us a lot about what he thought about himself. Reb Nosson felt about himself that he was special, different, and at times maybe a big miskin. Not exactly, I'll try to explain it. I don't know how many of you were asking deep questions at a young age, but I've mentioned to you before already, my oldest, the truth is, the two older ones have been pounding us with the deepest theological questions at the age of 3 and 4 already.
I got it at bedtime tonight.
You got tonight? Yeah? A death question?
Why did God create evil?
Oh. Shema Yisrael. You know. And? No, I'm not going to put you on the spot. You don't have to tell everyone what you said. Tiferet and Or have been asking us death questions for quite some time. So, I'm sure many of your children have had that before asking those questions. And you're like ask your mom. Reb Nosson would spend time sitting in the Zaidi section in the shul that he grew up in. The Zaidi section, I'm just remembering where Zaidi sat in shul. I remember it clearly where he sat in shul. Even though I was barely, you were there all the time, but I wasn't there in Passaic. There was a Zaidi section, and he was with his grandfather, and he got very well acquainted with all the other Zaidis that were there. Little Nosson Sternhards. And one day, I don't know what age he was, but a young age, he sees that one of Zaidi's benchmates in shul didn't show up. So, and no one, no one pointed it out, but everyone seemed to just know and keep it quiet. So Reb Nosson asked his grandfather, where's so-and-so? He said, oh, well, he lived a long life and then he died. So then he started thinking to himself, he's like, is this what life is all about, just to live and then die? So he's wondering, on a very deep level, from a young age, why in the world do people even come to this world? He didn't necessarily even have an answer around that time at all. But something started irking inside of him, and as much as he was learning, and as much as he was becoming a tremendous Talmid Chacham and this whatnot, something was burning inside of him from a young age to just basically live much more than the average Joe would live. You understand when he's wondering, what is this? What does it mean? Someone, he's like 5, 6 years old maybe. He's like, what do you mean? Someone lives, then they just die, and then we just go on? He started asking himself, so what does that mean while I'm alive? What does that mean about what I do?
Good question.
And he asked it at a young age, and he never stopped asking himself that question to the day he died. But the hunger to get a little bit of an answer to that question made him sick to the stomach until he met Rabbi Nachman. Now, we mentioned before, in the beginning, he does have some kind of an exposure to the Hasidic tradition because of his chavrus. I think his name was Reb Lipa. And I'm not sure which tzaddik this Reb Lipa was connected to, but they were chavrusas in the town that Reb Nosson lived in, which was called Nemerov, which we passed through on our trips to the Ukraine. And he sees the way that his friend davens. And he says, how come I don't feel that when I daven? Learning, I can learn like mad. But how come I don't look like that, or feel like that, or create that, whatever that was? And this Chavrusa started speaking to him about the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov. Now, you have to understand, today, family's a little bit Litvish, the kid gets into Chassidus, it's not such a big deal anymore. You go to people's houses, they have pictures of the Nesiv Shalom, the Ger Rebbe, and the greatest tzaddikim from the non-Chassidish world as well. We're not living in the world today. That's really what it was back then. If you grew up in a prominent rabbinic family that wasn't Chassidish, and you got turned on to the Baal Shem Tov, it was a bad scene at home. It was a bad scene, and he suffered a lot from this. A lot. To make a very long story short, I just want to share this because it's so exciting for me to talk about him on his yahrtzeit. And I'm mechila, for this is stuff that many of you know. Reb Nosson eventually ended up becoming a chassid of the Berditchever, of Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev. In fact, today I read a document that said that he authored Kedushas Levi. Did you ever hear that, Shim?
Wow.
Not that he said the Torahs, that he wrote down.
He wrote down Reb Levi?
Yes.
Compiled it.
He compiled it.
Wow.
Did you ever hear that?
Yeah, I heard that was part of the reason he was upset with the Berditchev.
Ah.
That he was Levi
Crazy.
Yitzchak's scribe.
Yeah, because of that he felt like he had this position with him, and then when he was asked about the bagels and all that stuff, it was
Beneath, right. For whatever the reasons were, Reb Nosson, he met other tzaddikim too. He met with Reb Zusha of Anapoli. He actually got very close to the son of Rabbi Yechiel Mechel of Zlotchev, where my wife's family is from, Reb Mordechai Zlotchever. He also met the Kotzker, and he met the Tzanzer as well, I believe, Reb Chaim Tzanz. And he's meeting all of them, and he's getting even more depressed, because he keeps on thinking that when I meet one of these people, these will be the answers to my soul. And he keeps on meeting them, and something good happens, but then something makes him feel, wow, with all this good, I'm still not shaykh. This is still not for me. And that could really mess with you. You know, Mela, when you're stuck in a bad place and you don't feel like you're shaykh to there, that's a good thing, right? If you end up somewhere shady, like if you take one of the wrong turns close to where you live, right? And you keep on driving 15 minutes southbound or whatever, and you don't feel like, I got to get out of here, that's a good thing. But let's say you were made a right and you were on your way to the light, and in areas of light you don't feel so much at home, that can mess with your soul. Because it can really start to questioning, what's going on with me? How come I don't find myself anywhere? These are all good places. This is what like that world that I wanted to connect to resembles. And how come I'm not there? You know, some people, they have to go through like tons of different tachanot, different stations of light until they find their light. Happens. It happens. So he had to go through all these different places of light in order to find his light, but he was in a lot of pain, specifically after that Motzei Shabbos in Berdichev, when he was sent out to buy bagels from Lava Malka, and when he was walking back, he sensed this is not his thing. He says this is not what he's meant to be doing in this world. So the story is that after he dropped off the bagels, he then went and found the nearest shul and went into the women's section and started crying, opened up Tehillim, and started crying so hard that he fell on the floor, crying, saying Tehillim, thinking that perhaps, maybe he's hopeless. And every time he fell and cried, he thought maybe he would receive some kind of an answer, but it didn't happen. It happened a few times that he would start davening, fall on the floor, cry. Ribono Shel Olam, am I ever going to find my light? Or am I going to keep on visiting these beautiful gardens of light that I don't feel is my shoresh neshama, the root of my soul? So he eventually, after one of these moments of falling, he fell asleep. And he had the dream of all dreams. And what was the dream? The dream was that he had a ladder. Mamash Yaakov Avinu, was just no angels on the ladder besides him. The ladder is in the ground, upwards. And he goes up, falls. Then he goes up again. This time he reaches a little bit higher than he did from the previous ascent. And he falls again. And obviously, every time you fall from a higher place, it hurts more. So he keeps on getting bruised every time he falls. But he keeps on going up again. And he falls again. Until he reaches the highest spot on the ladder. And he knows if he falls from here this time, he doesn't know if he's going to stay alive. So he sees a face he never saw before. And like we had learned, the face said to him, Nosson, keep on climbing, but hold yourself up. Climb, but hold yourself up. I never forgot that dream. He woke up, really did a number on him, but it wasn't until a year later that he heard that the Baal Shem Tov's great-grandson, Reb Nachman, moved to the neighboring town of Breslov. Remember, in 1802, Rabbi Nachman moves, I believe, from Zlatopolia, whatever, no one's going to test me on these names, Zlatopolia to Breslov, and Breslov's neighboring of Tenemirov. And he heard about Reb Nachman, and it's a very long story, but the point is that when he comes and shows up by Reb Nachman, he looks at him and he says to himself, you're the tzaddik in the dream that said to me, Nosson, keep on climbing, but hold yourself up. And from that moment on, how old is he there? 22. Reb Nosson's born 1780, if I remember correctly. From that moment on, his life's mission was to figure out how to spread the light of the person that appeared to him in a dream that has now become his Rebbe in life. And as you all know also, I guess we'll sing it because we have to, it's the yahrtzeit. That first Shabbos, Reb Nosson and spent by Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Nachman sensed that he's really, his heart is being carved wide open. And it was a lot for him. He was going through a lot of emotions at the Shabbos table. Reb Nachman could see it when he was singing Eshes Chayil. He started having all these fakas about leaving his Eshes Chayil for Shabbos and all these other big nisyonos. But he started thinking, my family's going to, Mele, they know I was into Chassidus, but now they're going to know I'm into this guy, Rabbi Nachman, who had a reputation of what was called being a viduinik, which means a confessor. Because Rabbi Nachman was big into confessing your averas to the tzaddik. And that was like a bad rap that Rabbi Nachman had. So he thought to himself, oh my God, they're going to think I became one of the crazy confessors now. And he had all these craziness. And Rabbi Nachman basically went up to him at the meal and kind of made it known to him that he came home. I've been waiting for you. And now I can do what I need to do in the world, Rabbi Nachman was saying. And that night, after that meal, Reb Nosson went to the riverbanks and he started crying. He started walking around and he started saying the song we've been singing here. He said that in Breslov burns a fire. He knew there was a fire, some kind of a fire burning here. And he asked Hashem, burn it in my heart. Bebreslev or Eish, Haver ota belibi. Bebreslev or Eish, Haver ota belibi. Bebreslev or Eish, Haver ota belibi. Bebreslev boer eish, haver ota belibi. Oh, haver ota belibi. Oh, haver ota belibi. Bebreslev boer eish, 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 haver ota belibi. Oh, haver ota belibi. Oh, haver ota belibi. Oh, haver ota belibi. So it's pretty apparent that that prayer, Hashem in Breslov, there's a fire, burn it in my heart. The answer was that it was given, meaning he was answered. How do we know that he was answered? That the fire of Breslov should burn in his heart? Because you and I are sitting here in 2018 learning about Rabbi Nachman and learning about Reb Nosson. Rabbi Nachman didn't write things down. And even some stuff that he did was burnt. And a lot of the stuff that he was written down by him after he came back from Eretz Yisrael, the famous pilgrimage, he already told his Hasidim, don't even bother with any Torah I taught you before I came to Eretz Yisrael. It's only the Torah after I came from Eretz Yisrael that I want you to have. But Reb Nosson goes for it. I've never come across the life story of anyone more devoted to the Rebbe's Torah like Reb Nosson was to the Baal Shem, to Rabbi Nachman. It's I sound like a broken record because there's one book I always recommend everyone to read. I picked it up again this week because it's the book that really brought me inside strong, and that's Through Fire and Water that Chaim Kramer worked on the life story of Reb Nosson of Breslov. It's a beautifully written, incredibly informative, but it really takes you on this journey of how does someone not give up on feeling lost and then find what they've been looking for and still have struggles with it, but keep on going. Perseverance, commitment, devotion with utmost humility the whole way. Doesn't stop. So, Reb Nosson had Rabbi Nachman for about 8 years, and then when Rabbi Nachman died, that's a whole nother story. Maybe next year we'll deal about his life about after Rabbi Nachman passed away. And there's so much I wanted to do, but I'm just going to stick to just one thing tonight. I don't even know what time is it? 29. Okay, so I'm just going to say one thing, something short from the parsha, but I wanted to look at something that Reb Shlomo said about Reb Nosson. So first, just there's a teaching. Oh, this is the wrong book. I'm sorry. There's a teaching in Likutei Halachos, which is Reb Nosson's Perush on the Shulchan Aruch, all based on Likutei Maharan. And there's a teaching in there but when it's speaking about Yaakov and going down to Egypt, and we have a hard time swallowing the fact that it's apparently those 17 years in Egypt were the best years of his life. Now, for the Brent Zionists in the room, that's a very hard thing to swallow. What do you mean? He's living in Eretz Yisrael most of his life. He has to head out, this and that. But the 17 years he's living down in Egypt, that's really, really what it's all about. That's really the best years of his life. How could it be?
Better than Shem and Eber.
What's that?
Better than his years of Shem and Eber.
Better than sitting in a yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. It's very, very interesting. And Reb Nosson goes into the most brilliant. You can see how hopeful I am. I thought we were going to learn this whole piece. Don't worry. I'm going to learn this whole piece in Hebrew right now. Maybe we'll do it with the men in the morning. In a nutshell, Rabbi Nosson goes back to a word that I think is the key word of our generation when it comes to how to approach holiness. And it's a word in our house we keep on. We learn Reb Nosson every Shalosh Shudas. We read one of his letters that he wrote to his sons, and there's a word called lachtof. Lachtof, a chatif, and the kids have to buy chatifim for school. You know what a chatif is? A snack. What do you do with a snack? You grab it. You just grab a snack. Lachtof doesn't just mean to lachtof stira, which means to how did you say that? Lachtof stira. What's that? To be slapped. Yeah. To absorb the blow. Thank you. Lachtof means to grab. Yeah, that's what it really means. Chatafti etzem, lachtof etzem, grabbing it. And in this teaching that Reb Nosson shares with us, he says, Yaakov Avinu's 17 years in Egypt weren't about trying to make life perfect. They were about grabbing moments of calm and peace. And when you live a life of, instead of trying to make things perfect, but realizing that in our level, in this world, it's about grabbing the moments that are in front of you that you can make beautiful, you start to live a life that's more sweeter than anything you ever imagined. As long as it's in comparison to your ideal picture of what life should be, even the good points in life don't really mean that much to you. But when that stops becoming the goal, whatever that picture that I painted for myself, how I thought life should be, because Megieli, I deserve it, or could be, and instead, I realize it's Monday night. I can learn for a few minutes and be inspired with a bunch of friends. I'm just going to lachtof it, because I'm going to grab the opportunity that I have right now for this. Then you have everything in the world. You have absolutely everything in the world. And I realize now we're not going to do it here, but I think it's a very important teaching. I want to do it with the Chavra in the morning. But there's a story that Reb Shlomo used to say about Reb Nosson, which is the one thing I wanted us to leave with. It's a short story, and he sang it. He sang it very beautifully, and it was published in one of the books we did. But even for those that saw it before, this is an important one to see again.
That's your tea.
What?
That's your tea.
Oh. Thank you so much. There's not enough, Baruch Hashem, so you should each share one if you can.
Oh, it gave you the wrong one.
Okay. Did it reach the back yet? Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, this is a very important story, an important teaching, a very easy thing to absorb. So Reb Shlomo Katz said like this: whenever a person is sad, they want to run away from the world, and they want to run away from themselves, and they want to run away from God. Our natural, the 3 F's? Cliff used to test me on this all the time. Do you know what the 3 F's are? What happens to you when you have opposition?
Fight, flight, freeze.
Right, so this one is flight. That's one of the things you want to do. You have a little opposition in your life, I'm out of here. I don't want to stay. Well, it's not logical, meaning maybe I could deal with it, life, maybe I can't. I don't care. I want to get out of here. I want to flee. And that's what happens whenever a person, basically sadness causes a person to want to do this. What happened to Adam and Eve? Their first mistake is that they ran away from God, from paradise, hiding. Like that's basically the first sin, the consequence of the first Avera caused a person to feel the need to run away. That's what Adam and Chava ended up doing. They ran away. Sometimes you talk to your best friend, to the person you love the most, and you can't get through to them. They're hiding and building walls around them. So what do you do? So Reb Nosson said, Reb Nachman's greatest pupil, had some kind of a distant cousin who was very wealthy. And suddenly he went bankrupt, and he ran away and decided to go to Odessa, where he had a rich uncle so he could take a loan from him. He passed by the city of Breslov, and by that time, after walking for a few weeks, he was so downhearted and so broken. His shirt wasn't washed in months. He came to Reb Nosson, and Reb Nosson says to him, "Where are you going?" He says, "I'm going to a rich uncle in Odessa. I'll take a loan of 1,000,000 rubles and I'll reestablish my business." Reb Nosson says, "Gewalt, are you mistaken? The way you look like right now, he won't even let you in his house. He'll put 10 rubles in your hand and say to you, this is all he can do for you. So what should I do?" And this is what Reb Nosson told him. Instead of running away, run to. Run to the one, to the only one who can help. So, what did Reb Nosson basically tell this person? Did he tell him to stop running? No, because the natural reaction of a person in stress and in crisis is to run. It's to flee. It is. The question is, to what? Where are you running to? So I'm going to ask us all to do something very important right now and very uncomfortable. Don't raise your hand right now, okay? Warning. Don't even look at me. Don't look at each other. Don't look. Everyone just close your eyes, okay? It's not, like, no one needs to know where you might be or where you aren't, where you're, whatever. When was the last time you did something wrong? Let's say in Yiddishkeit, which is basically our whole lives, and you ran to Hashem when you did something wrong. That you actually ran towards Hashem. Or when was the last time that you did the exact opposite? And why in the world does a voice exist within us that says, when you sin against Hashem, the last thing in the world He wants is to hear your voice? And now let's label that voice. Let's give it a name. What's a good name for that voice? Amalek is a pretty fitting name for that voice. Reb Nosson is telling this person on a tachlis olam hazeh level, you could keep on running, but look at you, what's happening to you. While you're running from your tzaras, you're not going to get anywhere. You won't really be helped at all. Yes, run. You should run. You want to run. You have something burning inside you. I got to get out of here. I got to go somewhere. Run. But where are you running to? Are you running from or are you running to? And this was Reb Nosson's advice to him. Run to. Just remember, friends, instead of running away, run to. Run to the one, to the only one. When something hurts you, don't run away from your friends. This is the time to run to your friends. When children are little, do they run away? They run to their parents. Sadly enough, when we get older, we get perverted, we run away from. It doesn't mean perverted in the sense of losing the sense of listening to our natural tendencies. That's what he's referring to. Children, when they're young, a child can be doing something so wrong to you, then they get hurt. And who do they run to? To you. And then suddenly that stops at a certain age. Because somehow we think that that's wrong. We think responsibility means I got to figure this out on my own. Spiritual responsibility means living under the awareness, with the awareness, that there's no such thing as figuring anything out without Hashem. Spiritual responsibility, spiritual maturity, real spiritual consciousness is coming to the realization that there is no such concept of run as running from. There's only running to. And if Hashem thought that you could figure everything out alone in this world without Him, chances are you wouldn't have been created in the first place. You think about that very deeply. So when I think about that deeply, I have enough koyach to say, look, I'm not going to try to do an Aveira and then see, do I feel like I want to run to Hashem or not? But chances are I'll probably do some Aveiras this week. Question is, where do I run? What do I do with it? Where do I flee to? Because I'm going to flee. So Reb Nosson says to him, to this cousin, second to bottom paragraph, don't run away. Go back to your city, go back to your wife and to your children, but run to God. You're bankrupt and you have no business, go to the Beis Midrash. Go to the house of God, to the house of prayer, and learn day and night. You have no business? Beautiful. It's time to learn and to pray. It's time to fill your heart with the holiest teachings in the world, and Hashem will help you. He listened to Reb Nosson and went back to his city, and the people didn't believe it. They knew he was bankrupt. He ran away from all the people he owed so much money to. He's back and he's not running away? What's he doing? They were told that he's learning day and night. People were so blown away, meaning by the fact that he stopped running away from, that they gathered together so much money, gave him a loan, and he reestablished his business. You see? When you run to God, you leave it up to the one, to the only one. When you run to your best friend, they will always help you. How do you and I know about Hisbodedus? How do we know about it? Because of who? Rabbi Nosson. Huh?
No.
Because of your son. How does your son know about Hisbodedus? From Reb Nosson. Nate.
No, Nate learned from Noah.
Right. The Heiliger Rebbe Reb Nosson, yeah. Everything that we know of all the eitzes of Rabbi Nachman about how to do serious cardiac circumcision and really go inside there and figure out what's going on inside, it's all because there was someone that believed very much in this avoda of running to, of going to the field. Yeah, your life is a mess. You have no parnasa, you have no shalom bayit, God forbid. Your children don't want to talk to you. You don't have any dreams or aspirations. You stop dreaming. Run to Hashem with that. Every time, I mean, I'm waiting for a person to stop talking to me, because I've been saying almost the same piece of advice to almost everyone in recent months. Whenever anyone has any tzaras, the first question I've asked always, especially when it comes to tzaras with not being able to relate to God, or having a hard time with Hashem, having a hard time with mitzvahs, having a hard time with Yiddishkeit. So I just keep on going back to saying, have you told that yet to Hashem? What, that it's hard for me to believe in Him? Yes. But what do you mean? That I can't tell Him, because if you don't tell Him, He doesn't know. You know? Everything that we have a hard time with is an opportunity to run to go towards. This is what Reb Nosson really essentially got from the Rabbi, from Rabbi Nachman. This is where our lives have been so enriched. Specifically just the incredible women in this kehillah have really taken this hunger to learn Rabbi Nachman and connect him in a very deep way. It's been to me personally, it's been so inspirational. It's been something mashu acher legamre. And in the schus of Rabbi Nosson and his yahrtzeit tonight, the 10th of Teves, Bezrat Hashem, a few things I think that are be very, very important for us to take on in his schut. And I think one of the main ones is to ask ourselves these questions. But when was the last time that I ran to Hashem as opposed to running from Hashem? That's one. The second thing is, when was the last time that I actually wrote a tefillah? Whether I told you to write it or you just felt like writing it on your own. What stopped me from writing prayers? Everyone today, whenever anyone wants to sound a little bit real, but not too frum, they always say, I can't talk to a prayer book that was dictated to me by people that never knew me. Great. So don't daven for a siddur for a few days, okay? Great, write your own siddur. That's what Reb Nosson did. Not instead of a siddur. Likutei Tfilos. What he did with Rabbi Nachman's teachings. Making a whole sefer of prayers based on the Torah that you learn. And when was the last time that you asked Hashem, after tasting light, that it should be burning in your heart? And why haven't you? What stops you from asking Hashem to burn fire that you've tasted, to have it burning in your heart? It's like we get close, we get into something, let me just keep it like this. I don't want to get too wild with it. Let me keep it over here. Reb Nosson's yahrtzeit is saying to us, Breslov boer esh, whatever it is that's boer esh in you, finish the end of that statement. Hav erota belivi. What's stopping me from asking for something to be on fire in my heart? Lo litpachet klal. There's no fear here. There's only one end game to all these choices we make in life. Living a life of emes. Living with emes. Living in an active relationship with the Ribbono Shel Olam. Your children seeing you being someone that's so close to every word of chinuch you try to give to them. Your children seeing you bisimcha over mitzvahs that you tell them to keep. All the oneg in the world is on the other side of hav erota belibi. It's all on the other side of it. So in his chus, Bezrat Hashem, tonight, we should have the holy chutzpah to tell the Ribbono Shel Olam, Hashem, we've been feeling such a closeness to the concept of Am Yisrael recently because of very horrible circumstances. Have erota belibi. Burn that in my heart so that I don't need another pigua, another terrorist attack, in order to remind me how connected I feel to all of Am Yisrael. Have erota belibi. Burn that in my heart. Burn that in my heart. That's what I want to be on fire inside of me. And I think that's a very, very important one, that the situation that we're in right now. Hashem Yisbarach, when I see what I saw last week, when each of us saw what we saw last week going on here, there's such a sense of being in awe, of being part of being, that I'm Jewish, that I'm part of Am Yisrael. But Hashem, burn the, please have erota belibi, so that it's in, and that flame is eventually shalhevet she'olam me'elea, a flame that is already lit and keeps on going on its own, like Aaron HaKohen lit the flame in the Mikdash, that eventually the fire should be burning on its own, and we should be privileged to always just run to and never ever from. Okay, let's sing one more good niggun. We gotta sing up end of the Breslov niggun for tonight. This is what they were singing in the hospital Motzei Shabbos. They were singing this over and over again. Yisrael changed the words to this nigun to fit more modern times. We took a pasuk of Rav Kook, Am hanetzach lo mefached miderech aruka, that the people of eternity are not scared of a long journey. So I have to do some serious tshuva because they were singing this Motzei Shabbos in the hospital, and the way they sang it, it's hard to ever go back to like Oz V'Hadar. Oy am hanetzach lo mefached miderech aruka. Am hanetzach lo mefached miderech aruka.
Tomorrow at 11 o'clock to demand Geula, to beg Hashem to put an end to this galus. Please join us.
No pressure. But if you want to end galus, if you want to end bring redemption, make sure you go tomorrow.
That's where we're going to make it happen, huh?
Yeah. All right, Chaber, thank you so much, everyone.